Controlling cryptocurrencies have been likened to containing water in your hands. It's impossible. We've seen jurisdictions like South Korea and China come down hard on crypto for the demand to spring up elsewhere. Canada and Japan are two countries who have proven to be favorable towards blockchain and are becoming crypto gold mines. The world of blockchain is Internet 1992. The Amazons, Googles, and Facebooks of the space are starting to become apparent. There is one company in particular that is strategically positioned as the most diversified blockchain play in the world, with strongholds in Japan and Canada. Do not miss out on the early positioning in crypto. To learn more about how to profitably ride this remarkable trend, visit crushthestreet.com/blockchain. Hello everyone, and welcome into crushthestreet.com. Man, what a ride it's been in cryptocurrency lately. Crypto is back on the uptrend. If you haven't been paying attention, I think the stomachs of many crypto investors are starting to settle as the entire market is creeping back higher. And, let's have a conversation about this and more today. I have on the line with me the CEO of DMG Blockchain Solutions, Dan Reitzik. He's a successful entrepreneur, having built companies at the forefront of societal change. These include Digital Youth Network, a teen-focused wireless community, which is a joint venture between Rogers Wireless, Canada's largest mobile phone network, and Universal Music, the world's largest record label. So Dan is somebody who's just been on the forefront of entrepreneurship, recognizing trends, and striking while the iron's hot. He's heading up DMG Blockchain Solutions. Dan, thanks for coming on the line with me today.
Thanks for having me.
Dan, we are seeing an uptick right now in the entire cryptocurrency market. And, we did see the downturn. And I got to ask you, were you worried at all? And what are your feelings going forward here in 2018 regarding crypto?
Well, thanks very much. We've been in the business for a few years, and so we've seen the volatility of crypto. We specialize in Bitcoin, but yeah, we've seen the volatility in crypto every 6 months or so. There seems to be some news that comes out of country or a group that seems to move the price in one direction or another, and because there's not a lot of awareness among consumers, or there hasn't in the past been a lot of awareness of exactly why crypto is valued how it is. You get these price volatility. But yeah, Bitcoin is, we specialize, as I said, we focus on Bitcoin for a couple of reasons. One is it truly is a groundbreaking technology to transfer value from one person to another anywhere in the world without a third party. And what makes that work is obviously the blockchain, which I think we'll probably get into. But as a network that can do that, we see tremendous value moving forward. And, Bitcoin obviously has the brand. If I was to go out onto the street and I was to ask, 100 people to tell me the first cryptocurrency that comes to their mind, I'm pretty sure 99% of them would say Bitcoin. So I think there's a lot of strength in the established cryptos. Ethereum is another one. Ethereum is great because we build smart contracts using it. ICOs are done on Ethereum, but I think that one of the reasons that there's been so much volatility is truly confusion among consumers. There's so many what we call altcoins that have emerged over the past 6-9 months that I don't think a lot of people understand exactly what's the underlying value in them.
Absolutely. Well, you know what, Dan, I got to give you credit for recognizing this trend before it was popular, because not a lot of believers were in the space prior to 2017, and you recognized it early on. And I got to ask you, what made you so interested in cryptocurrency, and how did you get involved?
Well, to be fair, about 6 years ago, I was asked to meet a guy by the name of Chris Filiatro in Japan, and he was considered a Bitcoin guru. And at the time, I looked at Bitcoin and I thought, I don't understand this. How wrong I was, though. So about 3 years ago, I started looking at a software company that did analytics on the Bitcoin blockchain, which basically means, as you know, the blockchain is a record of every transaction that's ever occurred, and it's open source and distributed. So everybody can see every transaction that's ever occurred on Bitcoin. What's interesting, though, is how do you collate that data and how do you use that data and how do you track coins for law enforcement or fraud or things like that. So this was a software. I went back to Chris about 3 years ago and I said, Chris, have a look at this software. I'm thinking about getting involved in this company, but I don't know as much as you do about this space. And so Chris looked at it and we both decided to finance the company and launch the software in Japan. And it was at that time when I realized that Chris was the head of Bitmasters, which is a network group in Japan numbering in the tens of thousands of Japanese people that have been buying Bitcoin for the past 5-6 years at Chris's recommendation. When I saw this and I saw the following that he had and how excited these tens of thousands of people were as early adopters of this cryptocurrency, I realized we were onto something big. So Chris said to me, he said, Dan, my company, my network, we're buying millions of dollars of Bitcoin every week. I want to start making Bitcoin. Here's the first $100 million worth of Bitcoin mining equipment. Go set it up in Canada. Let's get into industrial mining. So obviously, I'm an entrepreneur. I know that industry experience, especially in an emerging industry, is really the key differentiator between the successes and the failures. So I attracted Sheldon Bennett. Sheldon spent the past 4 years with Bitfury, the second largest mining company in the world. And along with him came Steve Eliscu and Varun Gupta, head of finance and head of legal. And so we started a small operation under a megawatt in Alberta. It's still operating and still generating a few $100,000 a month. But then we expanded and we're now building a facility in Western Canada that is capable of 85 megawatts, which is enough to power 50,000 Bitcoin mining machines.
That's incredible, Dan. Dan, so we have seen, you mentioned the Japanese market here, and Japan has become the largest cryptocurrency market in the world now. And we've seen countries like South Korea and China really crack down on cryptocurrencies. And my question to you is, do you see these countries such as South Korea and China, their crackdowns, a threat to the cryptocurrency market, or do you anticipate cryptocurrencies to be resilient through these governmental regulations?
It's a great question. So, and it has a few different parts. So the Japanese market, you're absolutely right. More than 50% of all trading occurs in Japan. Satoshi Nakamoto, who obviously created the white paper and launched Bitcoin and obviously blockchain technology at the same time, is rumored to be Japanese. But at the end of the day, and the Japanese country is the first country to regulate cryptocurrencies. So in terms of China and South Korea, I actually like that there's regulation coming into the space. China banned what's called ICOs back a few months ago, I believe in late Q3 of last year. And it was because there was a lot of consumer confusion. Are they securities? There was a lot of, the technology was moving too quickly for the regulators to catch up. And so it was confusing the marketplace. So I actually welcome some regulation to make sure that that the cryptocurrencies that make sense, that are widely adopted and have good use case will survive, and some of these ICOs that don't make a lot of sense will fall by the wayside. But in terms of crackdowns for our company, some of these crackdowns are actually good, and I'll explain why. So 80% of all Bitcoin mining is now occurring in China. And it has been for many years. And so what's happened is Canada has started to emerge as an ideal location for industrial-sized Bitcoin mining. And the reason is, there's a few reasons. One, we have rule of law. No one's going to come in and seize machines or anything like that. We have a very friendly federal government to cryptocurrencies. We have the right climate for cryptocurrencies. And what's interesting about Canada is because our history is built on resources, gold mining, silver mining, forestry, pulp and paper, we have these communities all over the interior of Canada that at one point or another had an industry, whether it be a mine or a pulp and paper mill. And so the infrastructure in terms of access to large amounts of power is already in place. So Canada is probably going to emerge as the world leader in terms of crypto mining. And on that note, I've had two groups from China show up at my office. I've had numerous phone calls saying that they represent 20,000, 50,000 machines and that they would like to figure out a way to get them to Canada. because they recognize that the Chinese government will probably nationalize mining. They're not going to ban it. They're going to nationalize it because it's something that is now very lucrative.
So do you anticipate countries that don't embrace cryptocurrencies to suffer as a consequence?
Well, I mean, you look at I believe it's about 3 billion unbanked adults are in the world. Cryptocurrency, as long as you have a smartphone, allows these people to participate in the financial community. And commerce and trade and things like that. So I think those governments would be wise to definitely embrace crypto. I think that the rest of the industrialized world, I think that you're seeing some adoption. I mean, you can use crypto to buy a Tesla, for example. So you're going to see some adoption. There are some challenges with the technology in terms of transaction speed. But those are being figured out by the developers that work on each of the various cryptos. I think that governments will embrace it. I think that governments need to protect their citizens and their consumers and their investors. And as such, I think that slowly you'll start seeing regulation, which is being modeled in Japan. As I mentioned before, the Ministry of Finance now regulates all exchanges. They regulate pretty much anybody in the Bitcoin and blockchain space. So there'll be a model that's built out of Japan that'll start working its way through other countries.
So Dan, let's talk a little bit about what DMG does. DMG is the most diversified blockchain solutions provider out there, and you guys got a number of approaches for revenue stream, and one of that is mining as a service. And we know there was an initial order of $3 million for this mining as a service, and we just got news of a second order of $3 million plus from a major Japanese partner. And so let's talk about the significance of this. Maybe you can explain to people what mining as a service is.
Absolutely. We're tremendously excited about the demand for the services. So as a company, DMG, yes, our mining is very profitable. We have extensive experience in mining. But when we set the company up 18 months ago, we recognized that when Satoshi Nakamoto came up with Bitcoin, it was really just a way to transfer value from one individual to another with basically no third party. What he didn't realize that the underlying technology that makes it work was really the game changer, and that's called blockchain technology. And it's essentially, we like to call it the automation of trust. In other words, in the past, humans had to trust another human or have a third party in the middle to trust a transaction or a commerce. Now machines do that for us. So we call it the automation of trust, but that's the real game changer. So at an early stage, we recognize that, sure, we have substantial mining assets, but at the end of the day, we want it to be diversified into various aspects of the blockchain space. And so we obviously have a mining for ourselves. And I'll get into some of our blockchain sort of developments, but let's talk about mining as a service, like you suggested. So Bitcoin mining is extremely capital intensive. And so what we decided to do was, instead of going out and raising ridiculous amounts of capital all the time, we've decided to do a blend. So we own about half of our mining assets and making Bitcoin for our company and our shareholders. And then we do something called mining as a service for the other half. And what this is when I first started with the Japanese market, Chris, I've always been an entrepreneur. We've always had to build a product, or we've had to create a company and then find customers. This was the first time where I had tens of thousands of Japanese people that were already buying Bitcoin. I wanted to give them a way to make their own Bitcoin. And so what they do, mining as a service, essentially allows any individual to purchase a mining machine from us, pay us a monthly hosting fee, and then we obviously host it because we have the expertise in industrial scale mining, and they get the Bitcoin every day. And the whole point is that we have a guaranteed monthly revenue that's not tied to the price of crypto, and the customer has total transparency and earns every Bitcoin that their machines generate. So it allows us to scale quickly. And it allows consumers and corporations to get into the crypto space where they may not have the expertise or the access to the technology to make it all work.
Wow. Yeah, it's a powerful play. And of course, you guys are bullish on cryptocurrencies as a whole, and you guys as far as the company and for the shareholders, want to mine it and own it. And you guys have a competitive advantage to being able to do that, as opposed to the average person who it's cost prohibited to be able to go out and mine cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, exactly.
Dan, let's talk about then blockchain, other solutions, other technologies that DMG is providing for real world applications. And I think that's what a lot of people are opening up their minds to, or at least I'm trying to open up people's minds to, is that blockchain, there's so much more to it than just money, than just cryptocurrency. And maybe a good illustration of this to discuss, to open up people's minds, is the relationship between DMG and Emerald Health Therapeutics, a cannabis company benefiting from blockchain applications.
Absolutely. No, you're absolutely right. It's not just for currency. It's really, as I said, the automation of trust. It's decentralized. It's a digital ledger that records and enables peer-to-peer transactions, whether it's banks, whether it's supply chain management, et cetera. But, people talk about blockchain and they say blockchain this and blockchain that. There's a few very obvious extremely good uses for blockchain technology. One of the key aspects of blockchain is its irrefutable ledger. You cannot go back in time and change an entry. So it keeps everybody honest. It's the automation of trust. Because everybody can have a copy of every transaction, it also means that it's transparent. So as a company, we decided we're not going to go out and do science projects, build some software, and then go and try and find customers or uses for that software. Instead, what we decided to do was we decided to team up with well-known brands and corporations that have a specific need that can be addressed by the use of blockchain technology. So I'll just briefly describe two of them. So in the controlled substance industry, the supply chain management of cannabis, it's really important for the government to know that a particular product that might be, in a patient's hand, in fact, did come from a particular licensed producer, doesn't have any harmful chemicals or mold or mildew in it. And they know the provenance of the product. So using blockchain technology, we're working with Emerald Health, which is one of the top 5 licensed producers in the country, to develop a prototype blockchain platform for supply chain management. So essentially how it would work is so there's a central distribution facility, which is Emerald. And then the system automatically knows when it's running low on a particular licensed producer's product, let's say Aurora Bubba Kush. It will then automatically order that will be posted on the blockchain. Aurora will package that in tamper-proof packaging and ship it back to the central distribution facility. It's put on the blockchain. The product is received and sent into the lab for testing. The results, the examiner, the date of testing, put on the blockchain. If it passes testing, a smart contract will deliver payment to Aurora, and the product will move into the vault, and then obviously out to either the retail store, the pharmacy, or the end patient. The whole point is that we can guarantee with 100% provenance that that particular gram of product or pill came from this particular producer or this laboratory. Unequivocally, it was tested on this date, and it is safe for consumers to use. So this is one example, but that same platform will be used for food safety. It will be used for tracing organic foods to ensure that that apple that you buy at Whole Foods for $8 or whatever it is in fact from a organic producer, and we can in fact tell you which farmer grew it. So that's one good use for blockchain technology. Another use, one of our other partners is a company by the name of Element Fleet Management, which I believe is the largest leasing company in the world. And they own a 9.9% stake in the company. And their issue is that they've got brilliant minds, brilliant database people, and they have collected and spent a lot of money to collect enormous amounts of data on the millions of vehicles that are driven that are theirs. And they know how hard someone presses their brake. They know what kind of climate they're driving in, how many potholes per week this person runs over. They have all this data. And their entire business model is based on extending the life cycle of a vehicle, for example. And so using artificial intelligence and using blockchain technology, we can collate that data and be able to forecast what's going to happen in the future. So predictive analytics. So in other words, we know with 96% certainty that a 2016 Toyota Camry driven under these conditions will require this particular maintenance next month. Wow. So the company Element can now send a message to that driver saying, hey, would you mind taking your car into the servicing? This is what's going to be needed to be changed. So that's a way to use artificial intelligence together with blockchain. And on that topic, we're tremendously excited about an acquisition that we made down in Palo Alto. Obviously, our company is Canadian-based, but this gives us a U.S. operations as well. And the company is called Blockseer. It's led by Danny Yang, a pioneer in the blockchain space. He's a graduate of Harvard and a PhD in computer science and artificial intelligence from Stanford. Along with his team is Tim. Tim just previously was with Uber and developed the algorithm that does flex pricing. He's a mathematician and a PhD from Harvard in data science. So we combine the artificial intelligence side with the blockchain side in order to create a solution that for now is for Element Fleet Management to extend the life cycle of their vehicles. But that same platform can be used for heavy machinery or any other industry that wants to extend the life cycle of their products.
Wow, what a game-changing opportunity here. Dan, so I guess my question then for maybe the supply chain management and the predictive analytics, is there a need for that? Can you speak to, maybe the deficiencies that there are in the space currently and why this is important?
Yeah, that's a great question, actually. When we were building the platform for the cannabis industry, and obviously finding a way to make sure that governments and patients and consumers can trust exactly where their product comes from, we quickly identified that there's a lot of data that we have to allow the licensed producers to understand better about consumer demand, what kind of products they should be growing, what type of bioscience they should be engaging in terms of obviously not dried product, but oils and pills and medicines and everything else. So part of being part of CannaChain, the company's CannaChain, by the way, that's building this platform. It's a joint venture between Emerald and my company, DMG Blockchain. Part of that is allowing predictive analytics or enabling that for our licensed producers that participate in the marketplace.
Okay, Dan, so exciting stuff. Let's talk about another prong of DMG. Again, it's the forensic efforts. I don't think many people understand that there's blockchain applications for forensics. So let's talk about this. Absolutely.
So part of the acquisition that we made in Palo Alto was Blockseer, and Blockseer has a platform that they've spent years on developing that essentially mines all the transactions that have ever occurred on both the Bitcoin blockchain, but also on the Ethereum blockchain. And what this allows us to do is it allows us to work with law enforcement, with accounting firms, legal firms, to trace where money was moved or crypto money was moved. Now, although Ethereum Bitcoin are pseudonymous, we know all the wallets, we know all the transactions, but we don't necessarily know the identity of the person at the other end until, of course, they try to or they take their money out at a proper exchange. So the point is that we have 2 certified fraud examiners that manage this platform, and we now have a new client. It's an accounting firm. So there's these crypto companies that want to go public, and the problem is how does an accounting firm figure out how they revenue? How do they know that every coin that's being generated by a company's computing power is actually going to the company and not being skimmed? So we've got our first client that we're helping with and assisting and consulting audit of a Chinese firm that's going public in Canada. And it's to ensure accuracy and transparency. Blockseer's previous clients and current clients also include blockchain.info. So, know your customer. KYC and anti-money laundering is becoming more and more of an important aspect of cryptocurrency. And while we're not required to perform AML or KYC, we do it. So anybody that wants to take one of our or buy one of our do our mining as a service, for example, we have a full background on who that customer is, just like a bank would. And so as time goes on and the adoption becomes more and more important, and if we want cryptocurrency to flourish, we need to make sure that we get rid of some of the anonymity behind it. So we have various tools developed by Blockseer, our subsidiary in Palo Alto, that enable networks and wallets and exchanges to quickly identify if a wallet that a transaction is coming from is a risky wallet, if it's been used on the dark web, if it's ever been flagged for sending funds to a blockaded country or whatever it is. So that's going to become a more important thing as time goes on. But one of the primary reasons I wanted to have the forensics division, I mean, we're a diversified company. We do mining for ourselves. We do mining as a service for third parties. We have various blockchain platforms that we're developing with partners and clients. And the forensics was an obvious next step. And one of the reasons that it's so great is that cryptocurrency comes from the underbelly of the internet. There was a few years ago, people thought it was used for buying illegal substances and all this kind of stuff. And there were all these hacks and things like that. So it had a bit of a bad reputation. And so in following with our transparent nature as a company, I wanted to make sure that we had certified fraud examiners that oversee the entire operation, which gives our customers a sense of trust of our brand and knowing that we're very transparent. We're watching everything.
Good stuff, Dan. Well, I got to ask you then, with such a diversified company, you guys have quite the brain power and expertise on your team to handle the responsibilities that are coming now and with your business approach. And I guess by way of conclusion, if you would tell us, give us a summary of just who is on the team and, why this is important with the diversified approach going forward.
Absolutely. So on the mining side, that's led by Sheldon Bennett. Sheldon was responsible for setting up Bitfury's 58 megawatt facility, which I believe is Canada's or North America's largest facility to date. He's managing the build out of our facility that has capability of up to 85 megawatts. So experience when it comes to industrial mining is very important. When I first started this, I thought, okay, so you get machines, you plug them in, and away you go. But everything is custom designed, whether it be the power distribution channels, whether it be the transformers, or even the substation that we're building. It's all custom designed. So Sheldon leads the mining team, along with Steve Aliscu, who is also from Bitfury. In terms of legal, Varun Gupta is head of legal, and he is also from Bitfury. He was head of legal there, so he handles that side. On the software development side, the Canadian team, which is working with Emerald and developing CannaChain to do the supply chain management platform for the cannabis industry, that's led by Adrian Glover, who's got extensive experience in supply chain management platform development, and his team of 8 developers here in Vancouver. And then on the Element Fleet Management side, which incorporates blockchain and artificial intelligence and data science, that's led by Danny Yang, who is the CEO of Blockseer, which is our subsidiary, and he's as I mentioned before, he built the largest exchange in South Korea a few years ago before he started Blockseer and developed that. And his team includes 7 very high-end blockchain developers and data scientists in Palo Alto. And then on the forensics side, Simon Paget runs our forensics division. He's a CA. He's a certified fraud examiner. He has his MBA from Oxford. And he works with a couple of other assistants to perform various investigations. The forensics division is going to be interesting, by the way. It's right now, spouses aren't hiding money in crypto, but they will. And there's a huge market for the legal side, for the accounting side, for us to be able to trace and track that.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point we could have another 5-minute conversation about. Dan, let's talk real quick. We just saw the stock start trading this week on the TSXV DMGI. Not all brokerage are supporting it yet. It's just coming online. When can we expect a U.S. ticker for a lot of the people who are locked out at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, we've made that those inroads. We feel that within the next week or two, we'll have that sorted out.
Excellent. Okay, Dan. Well, thanks for coming on Crush the Street with me today, giving us an update and educating us on cryptocurrency.
Yeah, thanks very much for your time.